The Cursed Melody. Ayla, a quiet, introverted girl with a love for antiques, works at an old bookstore and lives alone in a small apartment. She is passionate about collecting vintage items, especially anything related to music. She is a dimly lit antique shop filled with the scent of aged paper, polished wood, and something faintly metallic. Ayla ran her fingers along the spines of old books, feeling their rough, time-worn covers. The bookstore where she worked had its charm, but antique shops, places where history lingered, always fascinated her more. She wandered past a shelf of delicate porcelain figurines before her gaze settled on something tucked between a stack of forgotten trinkets. A small wooden box, its surface coated in dust. Intricate carvings of roses and a crescent moon adorned its lid, their delicate etchings barely worn by time. The craftsmanship was unlike anything she had seen before. Delicate, precise, almost alive. A soft chill brushed against her skin as she reached out. The moment her fingertips grazed the wood, a whisper of cold air curled around her wrist. Ayla shivered but ignored it. As she lifted the box, something shifted inside, like the whisper of a melody trapped within. "You have an eye for lost things," a voice rasped behind her. Startled, she turned to see the shop owner, an old man with silver-streaked hair and deep-set, knowing eyes. He studied her with an expression somewhere between curiosity and caution. Ayla hesitated. "How much for this?" The old man didn't answer immediately. Instead, he glanced at the music box, his mouth tightening slightly. When he finally spoke, his voice was lower, more deliberate. "Some melodies," he said slowly, "are not meant to be heard." Ayla frowned, glancing down at the box in her hands. "It's just a music box," she said lightly, though the weight of his words sent a small shiver down her spine. The old man exhaled through his nose, his gaze darkening. "Some things do not belong in the hands of the living." Ayla almost put it back. Almost. But there was something about it. Something irresistible. A story trapped within its carved wooden frame, a song waiting to be heard. "I'll take it," she said, ignoring the tightening in her chest. The old man studied her for another long moment, then let out a slow sigh. "So be it." As she placed the money on the counter, he wrapped the music box carefully in brown paper. His fingers, though wrinkled, moved with surprising precision. When he handed it to her, their hands brushed. His skin was ice cold. "Be careful," he murmured. "Once a melody finds its listener, it never lets go." Ayla swallowed but nodded, clutching the package to her chest. As she stepped out into the crisp evening air, the antique shop's wind chimes rattled violently, though there was no wind. She didn't look back, but if she had, she would have seen the shopkeeper still standing there, watching her with an expression of deep regret. Ayla's small apartment, a cozy but quiet space. A warm lamp glows beside her bed, casting soft shadows on the walls. A single candle flickers on her desk, the only source of real warmth in the chilly night. Ayla sat cross-legged on her bed, the music box resting in her lap. The brown paper wrapping lay discarded beside her. She traced the carved roses and crescent moon with her fingers, feeling the roughness of the old wood. Her heart beat a little faster, she didn't know why. Taking a deep breath, she carefully wound the key on the side. The gears inside clicked softly as she lifted the lid. A melody began to play. It was unlike anything she had ever heard, soft, slow, and sorrowful, yet beautiful in a haunting way. It sent a strange shiver down her spine. As the tune filled the air, a sudden chill crept into the room. The warmth from her lamp seemed to fade. Then, the candle on her desk flickered violently. Ayla's breath caught. The tiny flame stretched and twisted, as if struggling against an unseen force. For a brief moment, it burned an eerie blue before returning to normal. The room fell silent. Ayla swallowed hard, quickly closing the lid of the music box. The melody stopped at once, leaving behind an unsettling stillness. She stared at the box, her fingers trembling slightly. "It's just an old music box," she whispered to herself. "Nothing strange." Pushing away the uneasy feeling, she placed it on her bedside table, turned off the lamp, and crawled under the covers. But sleep did not come easily that night. Somewhere in the darkness, she could still hear the tune, faint, distant, as if the walls themselves remembered the melody. The next morning, sunlight streamed through the window as Ayla rubbed her sleepy eyes and sat up in bed. The eerie feeling from the night before had faded, replaced by the warmth of a new day. She stretched, then turned toward her desk and froze. A single wilted rose lay there. Its petals were dry and curled, its stem weak. She blinked at it in confusion. Where did this come from? She murmured. She didn't remember bringing a rose into her apartment. A strange feeling settled in her chest, a mix of curiosity and unease. Slowly, she turned her gaze to the music box, still sitting beside her bed. It was closed, silent, but somehow she couldn't shake the feeling that it wasn't done playing yet. Ayla sat on the floor, staring at the music box. Something about it scared her, but she couldn't stop playing it. The melody was beautiful and haunting, like a song calling her from a dream. Taking a deep breath, she wound the key again. The soft, sorrowful tune filled the room. At once, the temperature dropped. A shiver ran down her spine. She pulled her sweater tighter around her shoulders. Then, a whisper. It was faint, just on the edge of hearing. A soft voice, speaking in a language she didn't understand. Ayla's hands clenched into fists. "Is someone there?" she whispered. Silence. She turned toward her mirror across the room. Her reflection stared back, but something felt wrong. She lifted her hand. Her reflection did the same, a second too late. Ayla's breath hitched. She turned away, heart pounding. "I'm just imagining things," she muttered. But then, her bookshelf creaked. She spun around. A book had moved slightly, its pages fluttering, as if caught in a breeze, but there was no wind. Her pulse raced. This wasn't normal. That evening, she lit a single candle and sat on her bed. The room was dim, filled with flickering shadows. Despite everything, she felt drawn to the music box. She wound it again. The melody played, slow and sorrowful. The air turned thick and cold. Then, in the far corner of her room, she saw it. A tall shadow. It didn't move. It just stood there, watching. Ayla's breath came in short gasps. Her fingers went numb. The candle beside her flickered wildly, making the shadow stretch and shift. Her heart pounded against her ribs. This is real. She grabbed her bedside lamp and switched it on. The light filled the room, and the shadow was gone. But the feeling remained. She wasn't alone. The music box sat beside her, its lid slightly open. The last note of the melody hung in the air. Ayla reached out and slammed it shut. For the first time, she was afraid to play it. Ayla at bookstore. She sat behind the counter, flipping absent-mindedly through a book. The day had been slow, and the steady rhythm of raindrops tapping on the glass made her feel drowsy. Then, the bell above the door chimed softly. She looked up. A man stood in the doorway, shaking droplets from his dark coat. He was tall, with sharp features and deep, sorrowful eyes that seemed to carry a weight only he could understand. For a second, Ayla forgot to breathe. Something about him felt familiar. The man's gaze settled on her. He stepped forward, his movements graceful but heavy with something unspoken. Ayla cleared her throat, trying to ignore the sudden chill that ran down her spine. "Can I help you?" He didn't answer right away. Instead, he studied her, his gaze flickering with something like recognition or regret. Then, in a voice low and calm, he said, "That melody should never have been played." Ayla's stomach twisted. Her fingers curled around the edge of the counter. "What?" He took another step forward, his shadow stretching under the dim bookstore light. "It binds souls." A flicker of lightning illuminated the windows, casting strange shadows across his face. Ayla's pulse quickened. She gripped the counter, her mind racing. How do you know about the melody? The man's lips parted as if he wanted to say more. But then, he hesitated. His sorrowful gaze softened, as if he pitied her. Then, without another word, he turned on his heel and strode toward the door. "Wait!" Isla rushed around the counter. "Who are you?" But the door swung open, the wind and rain swallowing his figure as he stepped outside. By the time Ayla reached the entrance, he was gone. Only the echoes of his words remained. "It binds souls." The storm rages outside, rain pounding against the windows. The dim glow of a table lamp casts soft shadows around the cozy space. A loud knock echoed through Ayla's apartment. She hesitated, her heart skipping a beat. It was nearly midnight. Who would come at this hour? Another knock, more urgent this time. She took a deep breath and opened the door. There was the same man who came at store. His dark coat was soaked, his hair damp from the rain. His deep eyes held the same sorrow as before, but tonight there was something else. A quiet desperation. "Can I stay here until the rain stops?" His voice was calm, but his gaze searched hers as if asking for more than just shelter. Ayla swallowed, then stepped aside. "Come in." He stood near the window, watching the rain. His presence filled the room, making the air feel heavier, yet strangely warm. Ayla, still unsure about him, cleared her throat. "What is your name?" she asked. "Elias." One word answer. "I am Ayla." She introduced herself, but he didn't say anything. "You never told me yesterday. Why did you say that about the music box?" Elias's jaw tightened. He didn't look at her. Instead, he ran a hand through his damp hair and sighed. "It's dangerous." Ayla frowned. "What do you mean?" He turned, his eyes locking onto hers. "Some things are not meant to be touched. Some melodies." He trailed off, his voice distant. Ayla stepped closer. "You're not making any sense." Elias finally looked at her, his expression unreadable. "Just stay away from it." Silence settled between them. The only sound was the soft drumming of rain against the window. Ayla didn't know why, but despite his mysterious words, she felt drawn to him. There was something about him, something sad yet irresistible. She took another step forward. So did he. The space between them disappeared. Elias lifted his hand, his fingers gently brushing against her cheek. A spark ran through her skin, making her breath hitch. Ayla's heart pounded. She wasn't sure who moved first, but in the next moment, their lips met. Soft, hesitant, then deep and longing. The storm raged outside, but inside there was only warmth. They held on to each other as if afraid to let go, as if this moment was something fragile, something that wouldn't last. And for that night, nothing else mattered. The next morning, Ayla slowly opened her eyes, sunlight peeking through the curtains. The space beside her was empty. Her chest tightened. Elias? She sat up, looking around. He was gone. Her gaze dropped to the bedside table. There, where he had been, lay a single rose, wilted, just like before. A shiver ran down her spine. Had he really been here? Or was he just another part of the cursed melody? Today, Ayla decided to uncover the mystery of that music box. Determined to find answers, she pulled out her laptop and started researching. Music boxes, cursed melodies, haunted antiques. But nothing useful. She exhaled sharply and kept searching. Then, she found something. A small article from over a century ago. The Tragedy of Liliana and Elias. Ayla's eyes widened. She clicked on it, reading the faded words carefully. She checked the writer's name, search about her. After a while, she got the address of the writer and decided to meet her. Ayla arrived at the address, where she found the writer. She was an elderly woman with kind but knowing eyes. After introducing herself and explained everything, she came to the point. "Ma'am, I want to know more about Liliana and Elias. I want to know who was Elias." The old woman's gaze turned sad. A man who loved too much and suffered because of it. Ayla's hands clenched. "And Liliana?" the woman's expression darkened. A woman who was beautiful on the outside, but cruel within, who once owned the music box. She had a lover, Elias, a kind-hearted man who loved her deeply. But Liliana betrayed him. She had another man, someone richer, someone she thought could give her a better life. When Elias found out, his heart broke. He confronted her. Tears, anger, desperation. But Liliana wouldn't let him leave. She feared he would expose her lies. And so, in the darkness of one stormy night, she killed him. And with her final act of cruelty, she trapped his soul inside the music box. Ayla's heart pounded. The whispers, the shadows, the rose, the melody the one Ayla had been playing was his cry for help. Everything made sense now. She whispered, almost afraid to ask, "Is he still trapped?" The old woman gave her a long, knowing look. "You tell me, child. Has he visited you?" Ayla felt the blood drain from her face. Elias, the man from the storm, the one who warned her, the one who kissed her. He wasn't just a stranger. He was the soul trapped in the music box. "Yes, I met him. I touched him," she replied in a lost manner. "Now you are the only one who can free him from that curse," the woman said. "How?" She looked at her. "Just destroy the music box." Ayla returned home. She sat on the bed and played the tune again, and this time, Elias fully materializes before her. "So now you got to know about me." He smiled. Ayla stood up from bed. "And know you're going to destroy the music box, right?" He want confirmation. "Yeah, but that lady said, when I destroy the music, this will erase your existence forever too," Ayla told him. "Yeah, it's true. So what's the problem in this? Why you didn't destroy the box yet?" "Because I don't want to lose you." She came closer to him. "I love you," she admitted. His heart missed a beat. Elias, seeing her pain, gently takes her hands and whispers, "You deserve a love in the light, not in the shadows," he said with heavy heart. "Can I kiss you for a last time?" she asked with watery eyes. Instead of answering, he pulled her closer to him and locked her lips with his lips. She held him tightly, and tears are coming from her close eyes while kissing him. After a long, passionate kiss, they are slowly apart from each other. "I will miss you," she said. "I will always be with you," he promised. With tears in her eyes, Ayla smashes the music box. As the last note of the melody fades, Elias smiles one last time, saying, "Thank you for remembering me." His body dissolves into golden light, leaving behind only the faintest whisper of the melody in the wind. Ayla wakes up the next morning feeling an unexplainable peace. Though Elias is gone, she hears his whisper in the wind when she stands by the open window. She no longer sees shadows, but she keeps a single rose in her room, a reminder that love, no matter how tragic, never truly dies.